Welcome to the show, Let Culture Speak. On this segment of What the News, today we're going to get into Peter Daszak and his perjury testimony in Congress, and also Dr. Fauci. My thoughts are behind his recent testimonies. I got the full footage clips of that Congress meeting, and we're going to get into two cops that got shot recently by a illegal immigrant, and my thoughts behind all of that. Thank you for being here. Like and subscribe, and yeah. Everything that we know about the pandemic of COVID-19, we were lied to. Now, things that are coming out after 4 years of it happening, that no one seems to want to follow up on it, or it just seems like nothing really bad happened. But it was, if you really remember it at that time, of the people in leadership that we actually trusted would lie to us. Daszak funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars in U.S. taxpayer money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to fund gain-of-function research, and then spearheaded censorship efforts by secretly organizing a statement issued by The Lancet in February 2020, calling lab leak hypothesis conspiracy theories that create fear, rumors, and prejudice that jeopardize our global collaboration in the fight against this virus. Sounds about right. What we've been hearing in 2021, that the virus is very deadly and they're here to help. Daszak insists that this group have not engaged in gain-of-function research, but the evidence suggests he has repeatedly lied under oath. Daszak's denial is entirely inconsistent with his own words and his group's well-documented history of government grants. 2014, NIH awarded EcoHealth a $3.7 million grant to study bat coronaviruses, which is conducted in collaboration with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. In 2016, NIH official informed Daszak that his request for funding for research that would be conducted at the Wuhan Institute of Virology had been approved. This is terrific, Daszak responded. In 2018, EcoHealth submitted a $14 million grant proposal to the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. That suggested a partnership with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. In 2021, NIH admitted in a letter to Congress that EcoHealth enhanced the bat coronavirus to become more infectious to humans. Now it's all coming out. And that's great, because we want to avoid another serious pandemic that they are going to be heading. It's very crazy because we lived in a time where it was uncertain of what will happen, and we were just fed information from people we thought we could trust in our government. But it seemed like they had more serious intentions to what happened. We locked down, we mandated, people were weaponized to get us to get the vaccine. Reports of excess deaths of the COVID-19 vaccines could have contributed to excess deaths in the U.S. and other Western countries in the 3 years since the pandemic took hold, according to a new study that argues that world leaders and policymakers need to thoroughly investigate, and they do need to investigate. People were scared. People were locked down. We were forced to mask. We were forced to do a 6 feet distancing, which now with Tony Fauci, which we're getting into now, his testimonies seem like, yeah, he was lying.
Dr. Fauci, one of the controversial regulations of the pandemic was the 6-foot distancing rule. This rule became an important policy consideration in subsequent regulations. However, you testified recently, and I'm quoting, "This 6-foot rule sort of just appeared." Do you think that a rule that sort of just appeared is substantial justification for the regulations that we saw based on that 6-foot rule?
Congressman, thank you for that question. I answered that, but I'll summarize it briefly for you. when saying it just appeared. It came from the CDC.
Okay, you stated that earlier. What was your relationship with the CDC when you saw a regulation which was not based in the current science?
Well, when I say was not based in science, I meant a prospective clinical trial to determine whether 6 foot was better than 3, was better than 10.
But once we realized that the virus was not spread by droplets and was aerosolized, did you feel an indication to go back to the CDC and said, let's base this on science. Let's get rid of this 6 foot rule. This 6 foot rule crippled businesses. It allowed students to stay at home and not learn. Americans suffered. And that suffering continues because the fracture of trust in American scientists continues to this day. Did you not feel an obligation for something that just sort of appeared, not to go back to the CDC and say, let's base this on what we know?
It was a CDC decision, and it was clear.
Were you dialoguing with the CDC?
Excuse me?
Were you in communication with the CDC?
CDC
Of
was
course he
part
was.
of the coronavirus response team. Yeah.
And you didn't feel an obligation to go to them and say, look, Americans aren't going to trust us.
Yeah.
We're providing them with misinformation.
We have discussions at the White House about that. We did, but the CDC's decision and was their decision to make, and they made it.
And you didn't feel an obligation as the lead scientist at the NIH to challenge that.
I've challenged the CDC multiple times.
Publicly on this regard?
Excuse me?
Publicly, you challenged them on the 6 foot distancing rule?
It is not appropriate to be publicly challenging a sister organization.
Do you agree that Americans now have lost their trust in science, in lead science from government because of misinformation like this?
Well, when you talk about misinformation, I think that you have to be careful. It's not disinformation. It was information that ultimately proved, when you put the aerosolization in, that
it was not an effective rule to have 6 feet of distancing.
Dr. Fauci does not care at this point, and we'll see if he even comes up with perjury charges. Even with like Rand Paul and the questioning between him, 2 scientists actually debating on coronaviruses and where it came from. Everyone looked up to him, waiting for his approval of after 15 days to slow the spread. But that turned into months, into years. Kids are very damaged by it. Like the 6 feet, the masking with the kids was not necessary, but we took the advice of Dr. Fauci, CDC, the media, because we thought they were telling us the truth. Do you think it was a coincidence that we actually came out of lockdowns and masking? No, it was people that were actually at that time pushing back, and you heard those from other doctors actually debating about COVID-19.
Is the hypothesis that COVID-19 accidentally leaked from a lab a conspiracy theory?
No, I mentioned that several times. Conceptually, the concept of it is not a conspiracy theory.
Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
I'm sorry, what was?
Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
Yes, of course. It was a sub-award to the Wuhan Institute.
And who approved that award?
Excuse me?
And who approved that award? What agency approved that award? Your agency approved that, right?
Yes, it did after.
Did that have anything to do with this downplaying of the lab leak theory?
No,
Nothing to do with it.
nothing.
What, do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
Well, look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
All right.
Same member who just
Bro, fucking hell. This seems like it's just a show. I don't think nothing's going to happen. If Merrick Garland of the DOJ is ahead of it, nothing's going to happen. He's in cahoots with Biden. Even Jim Jordan, I don't even think he's taking it serious. He was just laughing the whole time.
attacked you. The Fauci-funded Wuhan lab created the virus. This is so crazy and irresponsible. In this post, the same member of this committee is accusing you of orchestrating a global conspiracy to create COVID on purpose just to make people get vaccines. That you've done this, sir. The same member routinely promotes complete misinformation about vaccines actually has encouraged the routine prevention of vaccinations and even eliminate diseases like the measles. Dr. Fauci, you brought together our nation and the world's best and brightest scientists to take on COVID and create a vaccine that works.
Come on, he has not researched it at all ever since. He's just backing Fauci, making it seem like he's a good guy, like nothing was wrong at the time.
Dr. Fauci, can you please
And
share with
her,
us the nature of the threats you have received since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, there have been everything from harassments by emails, texts, letters of myself, my wife, my 3 daughters. There have been credible death threats leading to the arrests of 2 individuals, and credible death threats means someone who clearly was on their way to kill me. And it's required my having protective services essentially all the time. It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because they've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
How do you feel?
You ask this question, how do we feel? Because his pocket's aligned with Pfizer. He got his millions and billions of dollars through the funding, $400,000 a year. This guy's banking and he's retired now. You want to ask how he feels.
Terrible.
Do you continue to receive threats today?
Yes, I do. Every time someone gets up and says I'm responsible for the death of people throughout the world, the death threats go up.
But you should be brought up on charges because you lied. You lied and you seem like you don't care. You're just covering your ass through what happened through the pandemic.
How much have you earned from royalties from pharmaceutical companies since the pandemic began in 2021?
0.
Liar.
It says NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers. You're saying that you did not receive any of the $710 million.
On COVID, I received, I think, $122 for a monoclonal antibody that I made 27 years ago.
Okay, so
And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions, while you and all your cronies get paid from Big Pharma. You know that what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted.
I don't think anything's gonna happen. If it does, great, because they should be held of perjury charges for lying because people think they're the best we've got. They censored other doctors. Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Robert Malone. People at that time were speakers against Peter Daszak, Dr. Fauci. We can't let it go. I hope charges are brought. I doubt DOJ, Merrick Garland is going to do anything. They're just going to let it slide. Now a new pandemic's happening. What's going to happen then? What's going to happen? The same thing? Are people going to fall for it now? I hope fucking not. Never again. This was a crazy time to live in. People were not weaponized. You couldn't talk about it because you were going to get censored, like Peter McCullough and Robert Malone were censored. And those are prominent doctors. Why couldn't they have a say? But no, they were being censored themselves. And the cover-up between Fauci and his colleagues, again, were being hidden, being deleted. And that was just an example of a perjury. They lied. There's videos of them, of Dr. Fauci saying immunity. We need immunity, that we don't need a vaccine if we get the virus. We built up immunity against it. And then the mask, he even says that we don't need masks. But yet, he was suggesting it. He suggested lockdowns, but yet he's saying he doesn't. He never did. But there's video out there that he actually did. Search those videos up. Compilation of him contradicting everything that he did. I'm the science. I'm the science guy. If you doubt science, you doubting me. Type shit. I don't fucking know what this is. It's a lot. So let's move on, man. 2 officers shot in New Jersey. A guy on a moped, illegal immigrant. I have the video, have the report on that. Recently, 2 police officers were shot by an illegal immigrant. I have the full report here. Let's check it out and let's talk about it.
Accused of shooting 2 NYPD officers on Monday morning was arraigned today in Queens criminal court. Bernardo Castro Mata is charged with 2 counts of attempted murder in connection with the robbery investigation that erupted into gunfire. Eyewitness News reporter Phil Tate has details.
Yeah, Bernardo Castro Mata learned his fate. That's as he appeared before a judge via video from a local hospital as he continues to recover. He was remanded by a judge. This as he faces multiple charges, which includes 2 counts of attempted murder and assault. Well, moments ago, we had heard from the PBA president, Hendry, who spoke out following today's proceedings. Let's take a listen.
Today, this court sent a message that they're going to support these police officers who put their lives on the line every single day, just like these police officers and every New York City police officer put their lives on the line to protect New Yorkers.
As Mata faces multiple charges, this is the person who police say is responsible in this officer-involved shooting that left 2 members injured. Our cameras were rolling as the migrant from Venezuela who entered via Eagle Pass, Texas just last year was taken in an ambulance as he was shot in the ankle after bullets flew early Monday morning. Now, police say officers were addressing a robbery pattern in East Elmhurst. Well, that's when they tried to pull over the suspect on a scooter headed in the wrong direction. This pursuit continued on foot when the 19-year-old suspect allegedly shot at Officer Christopher Abreu in the upper leg and Officer Richard Uruso, who was grazed on the stomach. Well, that's when officers had returned gunfire. Now, ICE confirmed Mata had his immigration case dismissed by a federal judge just last month. And following today's proceedings, the Queens County District Attorney Melinda Katz also spoke out.
And so we need to hold those accountable that would attack our law enforcement. We charged attempted murder 1 in the first degree, which is the highest charge that could be charged. There's also a myriad of other charges: gun possession, assault 1, everything that goes with the idea of taking out a weapon when you are stopped in a traffic stop and trying to shoot 2 police officers at point-blank range.
Again, Mata has been remanded and remains at a local hospital as he continues to recover. That's the very latest outside of the Queens County Criminal Court. I'm Phil Tate, Channel 7.
There's a report. Legal immigrant has a past history, was released again. Chaos in our cities. What, the border's open? 9 million? Shit, I don't know. There's just millions of people that are not being accounted for coming through our border. Yes, the media is telling you that women and kids that are looking for a better life, but majority are military age adults. And as you saw there, and it's not the only one, you see multiple incidents of crime from Americans, a small minority of Americans that are causing crime, plus with immigrants causing more crime and making it unsafe for a lot of people. Cops aren't safe anymore. Our society and our laws have diminished. Get you a gun, man. It's not getting better until we actually wake up and want accountability. Now Biden just came out saying, yeah, he has executive order to potentially shut down the border, but only letting like 1,400 to 2,400 people come in a day, and then cut it off there when there's already millions and millions that cross. Undocumented immigrant arrested for kidnapping and assaulting 11-year-old. Boston arrests Brazilian national charged with raping Massachusetts minor. Man living in Rockland Hotel housing migrants charged with child rape, DA says. Haitian migrant in Massachusetts. 3 illegal immigrants accused of kidnapping women at Florida Park. They're all coming from all over the world. Venezuela emptying their prisons and letting them cross the border. Now we have these people with mental issues, and they're causing crime to us. And then now it's not safe in these cities, these sanctuary cities. We can't do much about it except voice out our concerns and stuff. You know, get online, talk about it, because get on the phones with people in Congress in your state and let them know, like, this isn't right. There has to be an uproar, but our society is just diminishing throughout the years. Yeah. So that's it. Hope you guys like that. I hope it was informative. Catch you again next week. What the news? Let culture speak. Peace out.